Okay, it's 8 o'clock. Time for the Old Friends Net. The Old Friends Net is an AM roundtable type net, and everybody needs to be running AM. And we sort of like hearing the old vintage equipment, but anything is welcome. I have a net here on Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. on 3715, and on Sundays at 6 p.m. on the same frequency. So, anybody wishing to check into the net, please call now.
Good morning, Steve, WA4LLR.
KZ4 Bravo.
WB4ARK.
WB4NKL.
W4WU.
W4MEEC.
Okay, here's what I got. And CUA, you were so weak, I just barely could hear the CUA, and I forgot the first part of your call. Gosh, you're not very far away, but somebody fill me in there when they start, because for some reason, between him and I, we just don't, he just doesn't hear me very well, or I don't hear him very well. WA4LLR is first, KZ4B after that, and WB4ARK, and then WB4NKL, and then W4WU, Richard, W4MEC, and the CUA. Anybody else? Charlie, would you fill me in on CUA's call?
Yes, Randy, in November 2 CUA, and he's actually fairly strong here.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I know this morning on the net, K4YBC just up here in Marion was really down a lot, so that a longer skip is in or something, I guess. So down the list real quick one more time: LLR, 4B, ARK, NKL, WU, MEC, and into CUA. Randy, good morning. Sorry about your call. Anybody else before we start the roundtable? Alrighty, we'll go around about here. It's 69 degrees in Shelby, and it's getting really dark, and it looks like it's getting ready to rain on us, but hopefully no thunderstorms. I'm running the expert rig, SDR rig this morning, and about 300 watts, I think, power output into the horizontal loop antenna. So, Dave, take it away. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
Alrighty, N4LQ, and the old friends WA4LLR. Good morning to everybody from Dave in Burnsville. Steve's running the latest and the greatest, and I'm running the oldest and whatever. I'm on the BC610C. Receiving on the BC342N, and feeding a horizontal dipole directly at about 50 feet. Looks like we've got about 62 degrees, overcast. Not hearing any static crashes, which is just amazing to me. And the band is quiet. And let's see, Steve, Dave's in Lenore, not Marion. close enough, I guess. Anyway, yeah, he was very weak on me, and I'm not sure if it was band conditioned or if he was on the wrong antenna or if he didn't have the amp on or what, but he usually just bends the S meter up here in Burnsville, but not today. Anyway, John, you're loud and proud, and I'm sure you're on the night kit special, so I figured I'd change rigs today and not run either the T150 or the Babcock, but make sure that the 610 didn't get some kind of a complex because I hadn't had it on recently. KZ4B, WA4LLR.
Okay, WA4LLR in the group. This is KZ4B. Fine business there, Dave. You're booming in 15 to 20 over 9 on a very Scotch S meter. Steve, on the other hand, normally you boom in, but the QS Baker is very heavy between us, and that goes for a lot of the other guys. Shifting gears, I watched Everybody's Hobby at 5 o'clock yesterday morning. Interesting movie. I'd be surprised if it was a commercial success, but a lot of interesting old gear. The gist of it was that a upper middle class editor was about to lose his job due to the sale of the newspaper, so he decided he needed a hobby, so he took up photography. And he went head over heels, including a dark room and all that. Meanwhile, his son was into ham radio, and he got his license, and I guess he already had a receiver. They never really got into that, but he went to a radio store and bought for $50. Ham gear back then was insanely expensive. Rich man's hobby. And he bought what looked to me like a Collins grade transmitter, medium power, with 4 nice modern square meters for $50. And I would assume that it was the price of a decent car at that point in history. And anyway, the father and the son decide to go on a camping trip. The son hauls this huge medium power transmitter along. They have no generator, but he powers it off the 6-volt battery in the father's car. And that's quite implausible in itself. And meanwhile, the father sets up a camera with a tripwire to photograph wildlife in the woods. They're in the middle of nowhere. And a forest fire shows up, and they both become heroes because the tripwire camera accidentally photographs the perpetrator that started the forest fire. Plus, there's a close by Conservation Corps camp with a bunch of people doing work in the woods, and they need to get out of there to escape the fire. And of course, the guy uses his ham radio to call in transportation to get everybody out. And of course, this transmitter that can't possibly run off a 6-volt battery calls in the help, and that kills the battery, so that the car, the transmitter, and the camera are destroyed in the forest fire. But the camera manages to take this picture and to catch the perp. So it's somewhat implausible, what got me the most was $50 for this transmitter. That $50 would barely get a decent shortwave radio at that point in time. So I have rambled on enough. Take it away, buddy. WB4ARK in the group KZ4B, over.
KZ4B, WB4ARK. Very good story. I wonder how they developed the film from the camera, or however they were processing that. Another implausible action. Well, not much going on here. Kind of overcast, somewhat, sun wanting to break through, and a little coolish out, but not too bad. So I don't know what today will bring. They said possible showers, so maybe some of that you folks are seeing up there will be moving this way. Well, I didn't copy this station. I guess it's Dave, N2 CUA. I didn't copy his signal at all, which was rather strange. And everybody else was fairly decent, signal strength wise. So we'll see what this go-around provides, except Steve, your signal when you first started out was extremely low, and then after you made a couple of statements, it came up. So I don't know what was going on there. So anyway, over to WB4NKL. This is WB4ARK. K4JAL.
Okay, buddy, WB4ARK, WB4NKL. Good morning to you, Jimmy. I guess you're down at the end of the list, wherever that's at. I think you're after CUA. Dave, K4YBC was weak on me this morning. That makes me, everybody else was pretty decent, so that makes me think he might have had a hold of the wrong antenna or something this morning. You know, that movie, I watched parts of it on YouTube. It's Hollywood interpretations, strange sometimes. It looks like they could have found a licensed amateur to give them a few pointers there, but I guess it is what it is. I'm running the Globe King 500 this morning, a little more power than normal, and I've been running the LMAX and Heath kit, so I thought I'd switch back over to the Globe King here for a day or two. So send it on around. Go ahead. Let's see. Goes to Richard. W4WU. It's WB4NKL.
Okay, thank you, Cliff. W4WU is the group. Well, good morning to everybody. I've been out for a couple of weeks waiting for this. I was on the beach last week in Lee's old stomping ground, and went by his old house down there several times. Memorial Day was crowded as it could be, but then I think everybody went home. The island was very, very sparsely populated from then on. We went to restaurants to eat and walked right in and sat down rather than wait a long time. No problem with traffic or anything like that. We always go down with my daughter and her family, my son, 7 of us, and we do that every year. We had a different experience this year. We went down short fishing, and my daughter caught about a 5-footer. Each one of us caught 2 or 3, and that was an interesting deal. I'd never done that before. Rig here this morning is the 32V3, and the receivers are 75A3 of Jim's that I've still got, for sale if anybody wants it. And so that's the setup right now. antennas. They sort of band up. 160, 80, and 40. I picked up a while back, and it seems to work fairly well. Steve, you just like we were saying a minute ago there that Buddy was saying, your signal was down, and you're usually in my estimator over here, but it was down this first thing, and as you talked a little bit, it did come up. I noticed that, and the sun is doing a very good job. Our radio doing a good job for you. So over to you, Charlie. W4MAC, W4W.
Okay. W4WU and the old friends group W4MAC. Well, good morning, fellas, and it's 66 here, and the sun keeps popping in and out. I don't know, haven't looked at the weather radar, but I guess it's cloudy. I think we're supposed to get storms, but that's just weather. So, I don't hear any static. That's a plus here, so all good. Let's see. Comment about the movie. I didn't get up at 5 a.m. to watch it, so maybe like Steve said, I'll check it on YouTube. I was sitting here thinking when John was talking about it of a couple movies that are radio related, and I'm trying to remember if it was The High and the Mighty, or no, I don't know, that wasn't it. There was a John Wayne movie about crashing in Canada, and it's a very interesting movie, but one of the interesting things is the radio operator in the plane operating the gear, and he's switching the transmitter on. You can hear the dynamotor spool up and everything, so I thought it was pretty accurate for that era when he was trying to get a signal out, SOS signal out. So let's see. I finally got my cables came in yesterday. Amazon sort of lied when that was going to come, but they came yesterday, and by the mail, and that's the reason they didn't show up on the day they were supposed to show up. It was Sunday, but I needed some right angle connectors and the jumper cables, and the darn things were cheaper than I could make them. I needed two little 1.5 foot long, about somewhere in there, B&C jumper cables, and I think they were like $2 for $8.95. They're beautifully manufactured. Connectors are quality, and it's a low loss modern type of RG8 type cable. It's not RG8, like one of those LMR types or something, RG58 type cable. And what I need it for is to hook my sideband adapter SB10 to the Apache transmitter, and there's four SO239s on the back, two on each, and you got to route they take the frequency of the particular band, and they run it into the sideband converter, and basically they have an entire another RF section, and has a balanced modulator and all that stuff, and then they route it back into the rig to the driver of the finals. So they actually break the circuit between the multiplier and everything and the driver, send it out, and then send it back in a sideband condition. And when you go to sideband on the front of the Apache, it actually changes the bias and takes it to AB1 or AB2 or something like that. So anyway, so I got the cables, and the other thing I need to do is even though it's sitting next to the rig, I don't hook it up, because when you plug it in, the filaments come on all the time, and I didn't want that strain on the power transformer. It was just that thing I've only used once or twice in its life. On the load all the time, so I keep it unplugged. So what I want to do is get in here and break the filament line and put a little toggle switch in there and a little box or something so I can turn it on and off. And you would have thought they would have put that as a function on the front, like when you go over to AM and bypass the whole thing, they would turn it off, but they don't do that. So anyway, so we hope to get that going if the vintage sideband net gets running here, and see what happens. So let me send it down to Randall down there, and I think it was Gaffney. So let's see, Gaffney to Shelby's not that far, but it might be like the same thing I had with Harry Mills here. He wasn't that far either, and I couldn't read him. N2 CUA in the group before. Let me see.
W4 MEC in the group, and 2 CUA. No, very good. I'll keep it somewhat short just in case in the signals matter. Increasing in QSB is, where it was, everybody was really strong starting out, and then now we're getting back to close to green. Hopefully the highs are a little bit better, and too much lows, too many lows on signals not a good thing. That just makes it unintelligible anyway. I'm going to pull the swans, one of the swans out this and see if I can, I can use it on PM by unbouncing that bounce modulator. Prorated, and he looks in the window of my car and goes, "Oh, I see what's going on here." He goes, "I'll be right back." And he runs off into the back with this deep cycle marine battery and puts it in my car. He says, "Let's see you kill that one." That was pretty funny. When I turned on that radio, you could actually see the alternator gauge moving a lot. Poor car. Anyway, I'll leave it at that because I don't know even if Jimmy can hear me or not, but we'll see.
Into CUA, I hope you finished. I could just barely get you. You were down in the dumps. This is K4JAL. Well, I'm a refugee from up north at 85. The whole bunch bailed. I left one poor guy up there who's a general and came on down here, and I'm not hearing a whole lot down here, so there you go. Nick, control, whoever gets it, take it. I didn't read who you are. K4JAL, over to you.
Well, sometimes I don't know who I am either. K4JAL, good morning, Jimmy. And I copied a little bit of Randy, but not much. Let's see, anybody else want to check in late here? This is N4LQ. Give me a call. Well, didn't hear anything. Okay, that was a good round. Some of the signals were extremely strong, 30 plus over, and that just doesn't happen very often on the on this rig. For some reason, the meter seems a little scotch, but it's really not. Boy, I'll tell you, it's amazing. And 610 sounds good, Dave. Good strong signal. Nice and loud, KZ4B. Well, I don't have to watch the movie now. I've seen it. That was just a very graphic a depiction of the movie, and I got to see the whole thing. So I don't know. I think I've seen it before. It's been on YouTube for forever. But I'll probably try to watch that again. And yeah, buddy, your signal was fine, real good and strong. I guess the QSB got done by the time it got to you. And let's see, Cliff sounds good. Richard, real good on your 32V3. You're not real strong here. I guess like Randy, you're kind of close or something, but 75A3 that you've got for sale, which would be a nice receiver for somebody to have. Good AM receiver for sure. And let's see, what else? I guess we're going to Taco Bell today. This is Taco Tuesday, and that's the wife's thing that I have to put up with. But I must say, they've gotten some better stuff on the menu, so it's edible. Don't forget the luncheon coming up Thursday in Spartanburg at the Golden Corral at lunchtime, 11. I guess people start filing in at 11 o'clock, and it's the only Golden Corral in Spartanburg. So if you decide you'd like to come, they'll just come along, and if you got something to bring with you to sell, there's usually a flea market that breaks out in the parking lot after lunch. And bring something to show and tell if you got something you want to show and tell about. Well, I shipped off my RF kit solid state amplifier the other day. I had the wrong antenna on it and hit the transmit button and said a few words, and bang, there it went, and it blew out the LD MOS transistors. I'll tell you, I don't care what they say about solid state amplifiers, those things are touchy. Well, fortunately, there's three depots to choose from, and I'm sending it to the guy in Florida. It's already gone. The insurance cost twice as much as the shipping, $68 total just to get it down there. And gosh, who knows how much the LD MOSs will cost. I think they're about $300 or something like that. So not good. I'm thinking about going back to a tube type amplifier like I'm using now. This is the Meritron AL82. It's just got more fan noise and a loud relay for CW, and I like the quietness of the SDR. Anybody wants to hang out after the net and play with their vintage sideband rigs, I'm welcome. I would welcome you to do that. We'll hang around and wait for you. Just let me know. So with that, over to Dave, WA4LLR, N4LQ.
N4LQ and the group WA4LLR. Well, on the whole, signals up here are good. A lot of strong stations. I am copying everybody. Randy got a little weak a few times, but still had 100% copy. Cliff, the Globe King sounds really good. It's got a bodacious signal. Let's see. I'm sitting here watching my ham clock. I watched those videos on YouTube till I finally broke down and picked one up, and kind of a neat little gadget with that little microcomputer bundle, Invarto or whatever it's called. Let's see, space weather today. Sunspot count's pretty high. One source is saying 208, one source is saying 214, so it's over 200 either way. The solar flux index is 186 and the K is 2.67. And fairly active, but no major flares. We've had an M class or two, but so far we've been spared from the X class variety that gives us so much grief. A few things on this day in history. On this day in 1940, the Dunkirk evacuation ended, where more than 300,000 soldiers were rescued. On this day in 1942, the U.S. won the Battle of Midway. This is kind of an interesting little note. On this day in 1937, the world's first shopping carts were introduced at Humpty Dumpty grocery stores in Oklahoma City. On this day in 1919, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was passed, which gave women the right to vote. And On this day in 1783, the first hot air balloon was launched, demonstrating that hot air would cause a large bag to rise. Yeah, goodness. Interesting stuff going on back in the day. John, my wife and I watched that movie, and it was cute. We enjoyed it. I think it was filmed in the 30s, if I'm not mistaken. The only thing I saw that they got correct on in the ham end of it was the calls that were used were actually correct calls. I mean, they weren't some XYZ something that they usually make up. But they did use the right calls, and the kid did have to pass an exam to get his ticket. He and his friend were sending some pretty raspy code back and forth. But it was a neat little movie. And, yeah, I was impressed by that portable transmitter that was about half the size of a BC-610, and running it either on the mains or on a 6-volt battery was pretty impressive. But it was cute. I think one of the worst movies using ham radio from a correct technical point of view was one called High Frequency. This kid, his dad had, I don't remember if he was lost at sea or something, but his dad was a ham operator, and the kid was all the time on his ham rig trying to, to contact his father. And he made contact with this guy that was one of the operators of an Earth station, one of those Deep Space Network dishes. And the guy's talking on that dish to the kid that's on ham radio. And the kid asks him his frequency, and he comes out with some real high number in the gigahertz range, and he's talking on that, and the kid's talking on one of the ham bands, and they've got perfect contact. So, yeah, they needed some technical advice on that movie. KZ4B, WA4LLR.
Okay, WA4LLR in the group, KZ4B, fine business, Dave. Yeah, one other thing about the movie was there were all these girls following him around, and I think it was more because he was famous that he had saved all these CCA people. But I never had any girlfriend that was interested in ham radio. My wife married me in spite of ham radio, not because of it. And when I was a junior, I took a Swedish blonde, gorgeous girl who was the valedictorian to the prom. And but it was because we were both nerds, had nothing to do with ham radio, and I was not a scholar. I was too busy drinking beer and chasing women and playing with the radio. But and then at the Shelby Ham Fest one year, we had a Fairlane station wagon, and the battery was like 5 or 6 years old, totally sulfated, and they were allowing the women to entertain the women. They had free transportation to the shopping center in Shelby, and Sears was going full bore at that time. So I stupidly sent my wife to Sears to get a battery, and I stupidly assumed that she was good enough looking that the guy at Sears would carry the battery out for her to the bus to get her back to the Ham Fest, at which time I could unload the battery. Well, she ended up carrying the battery. And I'm still trying to live that down, and she does not go to Hamfest anymore. So I just blew that deal wide open. So ham radio and girls, just from my observation, never went together that well at all. Enough said. Shifting gears, I've got an Omni 6 Plus that doesn't do AM at all, but I had been running it through a SGC solid state power cube, about 500 or 600 watts output. One of the more robust solid state amplifiers, and I tried to get it back on the air, and it took me a while, but I finally got it and a 998 antenna tuner going so that I can do sideband with it. And my problem is that at the lower, I'm in the downstairs ham shack, and there's so much cable going here and there that it's very difficult to trace anything out, but I finally got that all straightened out. And I had forgotten that the 6 Plus has a menu. It's like a 3-page menu, and it's well hidden. And somehow the 6 Plus, probably because the 2032 memory battery hasn't been changed since I got the transceiver, forgot to key the output relay and had to go back in the menu. So I think I've rambled on enough, and take it away, buddy, and you're coming in good today, and as is Cliff. Globe 500 always does a great job. So go ahead, buddy. WB4ARK and the group KZ4B, over.
KZ4B, WB4ARK. All right, John. Very good. I guess your wife fears that she might get stuck with another battery situation if she goes to a Hamfest with you. Well, Dave, I'm wondering where you got your receiver that you're using today, and wonder if you could expand a little bit on that Navico chip or whatever that is that has got or is powering your atomic clock. Maybe you could give us some details about how that works, and maybe how much it costs and what kind of display it has. And it looks like we've got more overcast has approached, and moving in from the west, we've lost direct sunlight now. So maybe we've got some weather coming this way. I guess some of the guys that can't seem to get up early enough to make the 8 o'clock net. Well, some of them couldn't make the 9 o'clock net, but it's disappointing that we have a small group that makes it on Sunday but can't make it during the week. So I guess we'll send it on to Cliff, and listen to his very nice transmitter. WB4NKL, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, WB4NKL. I had this Globe King tuned up on 160 is what I was running when Steve was calling the net on 160 AM. So since we switched over to sideband over there, I put it back on 75. And I missed the 160 net last night. Had some company drop by. I'll try to make it tonight, Steve. John, I'll agree with you. I don't think ham radio got me any dates in high school. I got my license, I guess I was a sophomore or junior in high school. Didn't seem to help out on the dating situation. But I did get married there pretty early, I guess, right out of a couple of years out of high school, and still got the same wife. So I don't know that, you know, she tolerates it. I'll put it that way. She tolerates ham radio, but she almost got her license years ago. Got interested in it, but I don't know. She won't admit it. She did go to the Dayton Ham Fest with me for a few years in a row when I couldn't find anybody else to go. So send it on around. Go ahead, Richard. W4WU, WB4NKL.
Okay, thank you, Cliff. I echo some of those comments about your wife and the Ham Fest, W4WU. Mine used to go when our son was in the stroller, and I remember going to Rock Hill out there on the lake, and she would roll him around the Ham Fest in the stroller and take care of him while I looked at the radio. But yeah, she cares nothing about radio at all. And I think tolerates it is a good term too. She tolerates me and my hobbies real well. We celebrated our 57th wedding anniversary on Sunday, so must be doing something right. But anyway, it's an interesting comment. Yeah, I've seen some of those movies too with ham radio representation on there, at least the Hollywood version. You know, Hollywood and television both are famous. They'll bring people back from the dead and all kind of stuff. So having somebody in outer space talking through a big dish to a ham radio gear is not unreasonable for Hollywood or television. It's crazy. But anyway, yeah, I'm using the Jim's A3 receiver. I didn't think it was working very well to start with, and I thought I had an AM filter for it, but it turns out I don't think it was. It was one of the college filters in some of the stuff at Jim's, and it had a 16 on it. I think it was more like 1.6 for the bandwidth rather than 16. So it didn't work too well in there. I put his little, he had closed together some type of device, and you guys probably know what it is. Had a trimmer cap and a couple of resistors or something placed in the filter, and that's what I'm using today. So it works fairly well. Still, for some people, Randy, I did not copy at all. I didn't hear a thing, and just like a thermal radio. But some of the rest of you, Steve, you're still a little bit weak, and like I say, you're usually, down here just like you're in the room with me. Good, solid. I heard you okay. It was real good, but just fairly weak. And somebody played it in now. Well, I'm going to jump out of here, guys. Good to talk to you this morning. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. My wife's fixing me to go somewhere in a few minutes, and I need to go up with her before she does. So y'all have a good day, and I hope we do get some more rain. We need it. The yard's real dry, but I hadn't heard the first static crash this morning at all, so it must not be thunderstorm activity. And man, real quiet. Sounds real good. Over to you, Charlie. Step freeze, everybody. I enjoyed it. And get going.
Okay, Richard W4WU and the group W4MEC. Real good.
that movie I was trying to think of was Island in the Sky. So that's got a little radio stuff in there that's pretty darn accurate. So worth a look if you haven't seen it. Old John Wayne picture. And they even got the old what was that darn hand crank emergency transmitter? I want to say May West, was that it? I can't remember now. That they're out there cranking on that thing too. Put up the antenna and everything, the wire antenna. So it came with a long wire antenna if you could get it up. But overall, the radio accuracy is pretty darn good in that movie. So let's see. Well, you know, fellas, being the nerds that we were, I guess some of them were, and following and staying with hobbies and things like that. The girls didn't realize what a find we were, because the only thing, you know, we did was our hobby. So, you know, we didn't get to wander an eye or nothing, or go out drinking or nothing like that. So we were loyal. I put it that way, loyal. So, and let's see, it's been married 45 years myself, so it must have worked. But you know, all the guys out there were on radios, and like the photography folks. Of course, that isn't a big thing anymore because you don't get to develop film. But I'm sure there's some hobbyists out there that are doing that still. And I believe there's a company in Japan that still went back into the 35 millimeter film business. So maybe developing your own has come back in vogue. But who knows? Let's see, what else we got here? I won't make the sideband thing this evening, or after the net, because I won't have time to hook my gadget up here and make sure it still works. So maybe next time I will have it ready to go. I guess I could fire up my Drake C-Line, but I don't consider my C-Line as vintage. I mean, what is it, 40, well, I got this in about 1979 or 80. I bought this Drake C-Line from AES, Amateur Electronic Supply, and that's kind of been one of my favorite rigs, and one I use on CW. I like it on CW a lot, but I just don't consider it vintage, but it is. I could fire it up. Well, even my darn Omni 6 over here, it's vintage. How old is that thing? I mean, what qualifies as vintage now? So, anyway, I could, but I won't. I want to get the Apache on here and see what it sounds like. Okay, let's try Randy one more time. He was weak on me the last time, but Q5, but weak with a little QSB. So let's see how he's doing this time. N2CUA in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC in the group, N2CUA. Very good. Hopefully you can hear me a little bit there. John, your signal is like 35 over S9. You're the strongest one on here. That's for sure. Yeah, there was also a movie called Frequency that was kind of like that. They were on HF, and that was great until they started talking back and forth without pressing the push to talk on the microphone. I'm like, all right, well, that just went down the toilet, although it was kind of an obscure movie anyway, in that regard, as far as time goes and all that. I won't hold it because, you know, I guess I need to get myself to a Hamfest and start looking for an amplifier, or get 220 out here and drag that homebrew boat anchor one I got into the room in here, and see if I can get that up on AM. Anyway, Jimmy, I'm going to send it over there. If he doesn't answer, could somebody let him know? K4JAL and the group, and this is my 7-3 round 2. There's no point in trying if nobody can hear me. N2CUA.
Okay, I copied you that time. K4JAL, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here, Steve. I watched him on off the show for that time he came up. I just can't read him today. K4JAL here. I'd like to get on that thing with you later. I've got the AWM2 and 30L1 cooking, but I can't get over there today. Jack, and I've got other things to have to do. I'd like to get in there on that. Run that little rig. I used to use it quite a bit on 20 meters, but I've never been down on 75 with it. Not much going on here. Guess I'll give it back to you, Dave. M4LQ, K4JAL. I will say 7-3, though.
All right, it's Steve, N4LQ. Do you have anybody that would like to check in super late? Okay, nothing heard. The band's starting to change, and I think it's starting to shorten up because I copied Randy just fine that time, and Jimmy was weaker, so things are swapping around. I think part of the problem between me and the guys that are real close, Buddy is an exception, but my antenna is really high at 100 feet, and I think Randy's antenna is real low, like 20 or 25 feet or something, so maybe that's got something to do with it. And Charlie, I think you were thinking of a Gibson Girl, the crank emergency transmitter. And vintage, I'm not sure what the word means. It's just whatever seems old to you. It's the older you are, the older it has to be considered vintage. But like my son considers 80s model cars as vintage, and this last generation, my grandson, I think he probably considers anything from the 90s and the early 2000s as being vintage cars. So it's just a matter of perspective. And my XYL, she tolerates me pretty well. I was a ham when we were dating, and I remember one time I installed a Lafayette 6-meter transceiver in my Mustang convertible, and we were dating and went to a kind of a hilltop parking place where you could see the entire city. It was very beautiful, and I sat there trying to make contacts on 6 meters. So anyway, I guess she is used to that. And let's see, Buddy, you were asking about Dave's gadget. Write this down, because here's the brand name. It's and I wrote it down. IN India Nancy Ocean Victor Alpha Tango Ocean Innovato. I think if you just put that in Google and maybe put something like clock after the word, you're going to get the thing. And it's pretty cute. I mean, it's cheaper than a lot of clocks, and it's basically got a program on it. It's a computer. It's got a program on it for the ham clock, which gives you all the sun, the space weather information that Dave sees, and might be a pretty neat thing to have on the shelf. Let's see, I think we got just barely time for a quick short transmission type 73 round, and that's going to be it. And the sideband thing, we can do that after the net, or any net, really. I mean, just whenever. I don't have anything here that's vintage sideband. Maybe the next time I go to a ham fest, I may look for something, but nothing here that's vintage at all for sideband, except for maybe the IC7610, and that thing goes back about 8 years or something like that. So that's vintage, isn't it? Over to you for the 73 round, Dave. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
Okay, Steve, N4LQ, WA4LLR. Yeah, buddy, if you'll just Google Quadra ham clock, Quebec Uniform Alpha Delta Romeo Alpha, Quadra ham clock. And it is sold by a company called Innovato, INOVATO. But there's a bunch of YouTube videos showing this thing in action, but what it is, it's just this tiny little computer. It's dedicated. It's probably 4 inches tall by 4 inches deep and about an inch thick. You get the computer and the power supply, and it comes with ham clock installed on it, plus it has several other ham programs. The display is a lot like the Geochron display that shows, you know, the gray line and the countries and so on and so forth. But you can select what you want it to display on the screen as well. Like mine's set up with my call and UTC time, date, so on and so forth. And then if you want spots from you know, who's on SOTA or POTA, or what people are hearing on the different bands from Whisper or PSK, you know, or whatever. You can set it up to show that. It also shows, and you got a multitude of choices on your space weather, and it shows it in nice big blocks across the screen. You get a live picture of the sun that cycles through different wavelengths. Plus, it will show you the solar wind speed, K-index, solar flux index, sunspot count. I mean, it's just it's got so much stuff that you tailor it to what you want to see, and it sits there and constantly updates. Like I said, you get the computer and the power supply for $49. If you want the bundle, which is the best deal, it comes with a computer, a cooling fan, a stand, all your cables, your HDMI cable. It comes with a USB hub, and it comes with a wireless keyboard. So, and that was $59. So I think you'd really enjoy it. So just get on YouTube or Google the Quadra Ham Clock Bundle. One more comment. Everybody's talking about their wives. Well, fortunately, mine knew about radio when we were dating, and she became a ham operator. She's November 4 Papa Foxtrot Zulu. She's general class. She listens more than she gets on, but she enjoys it. Enjoys Hamfest. Loves to go with me to Hamfest, and I guess I really was blessed in that area. So, Steve, thanks for calling. 7-3, God bless. KZ4B, WA4LR.
WA4LLR in the group, KZ4B, fine business, Dave. Booming in as usual. Two comments. One, I'm with Buddy on Everybody's Hobby, the movie. How can the camera not survive, but the film does? That didn't make a whole lot of sense, but then powering a tube-type transmitter that was obviously good for, I'd say, at least 100 watts, running off a 6-volt car battery. Ain't gonna happen. And shifting gears, I've got a Helicrafters HT32A and the matching HT33A linear amplifier, true boat anchors. The 32A weighs 120 pounds, and the 33A is even more than that. And of course, then you have to have a tube receiver to go with it. And I've got the SX115 and a very nice 101A. I need to get all that tied together and running for the boat anchor sideband setup. So, thanks for calling me that, Steve, and always enjoy it. And I've got my usual conflict, so I may not hear you on 160 tonight. Although I need to see if this power cube and the 6A, if I can, I've got a G5RV that should work on 160. I need to try that out. So, rambled on enough. Take it away, buddy. Tie the ribbons on it along with everybody else. WB4ARK in the group. KZ4B clear.
KZ4B, WB4ARK. Okay, fine business, John. And let's see, Dave, you didn't mention the BC. I think you're using a BC 312N, and you didn't mention where you got that and about when. So maybe if you could throw that in at the very end. I guess that's about it for me. So we'll send it over to WB4NKL, WB4ARK, and thanks, Steve, for doing the net. Appreciate that very much. WB4ARK clear.
WB4ARK, WB4NKL. Well, copied everybody today. Band's in good shape. 100% copy all the way around. I don't have anything vintage to throw on the sideband side right now. Mark W4WWC give me the HX50 Hammerland that he'd had, but I hadn't had a chance to look at it. I think it's got similar problems to the one you have, Charlie, but I haven't got into it yet. It's too many projects. 73s to everybody. Enjoyed it, and thanks for calling it, Steve. Go ahead, Charlie. W4MEC, WB4NKL.
Very good. With W4NKL in the group W4MEC. Well, my HX50 is still sitting on the bench, and where it's been for at least a month. I haven't touched the thing. And the last thing I was working on a kitchen table. But the HX60 actually works pretty good on sideband. The AM is what I was trying to get it to do better, and the result seems to be in the filter, but I'm at the point now where it seems to be working okay. And if you do get into yours, get online and find all the addendums where they changed it. They changed some circuits and all that. I put everything in except changed it to the HX50A, except for there's the audio stage coupled into the balance modulator. In the last version, they use a transformer, and I actually bought a transformer from Fair Radio Sales to put in there. A little transistor radio transformer. It's like 10K to 400 ohms is what it takes. But I haven't done it yet, and I'm not sure if it would improve anything. But a couple of the other mods did clear some stuff up. And other than the addendum mods that you can find online to bring it up to a 50A, you can't put in this weird switch. I forget what it is. It has to do with spotting. And it is a complicated thing that they put in that rig so you could spot the receiver. But you don't really need that. But anyway, it's amazingly stable. The VFO's stable and works pretty good. But I just need to take the crystal filter back out and put the metal cover back on it and solder the cover back on and put the crystal filter back in. I'd be done. I haven't done it yet. I'll get it there somewhere. Someday there, along with Buddy's Art 13. So anyway, gonna take a look at the B-17 today and bring a bunch of stuff over there to the B-17 and see what that progress is going on. Maybe I'll have something to report. We'll see you on Thursday morning, 7-3, and thanks for running that today, Steve. And Randy checked out, and I think Jimmy checked out, so I guess I'm the TLC here, the tail end Charlie. Yeah, TIC, tail end Charlie. Yeah, May West was the flotation device there, and you're right on that, Steve. 7-3 on N4LQ in the group, W4MEC.
May West, okay. I was thinking of the Gibson girl with a crank on top, but that's another item. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming to the net today and checking in, and let's see, tonight on 160, 1864 kilocycles sideband, lower sideband. If anybody would like to check in, would love to have you. Need some company down there. So 73s, this will be N4LQ closing the net.
WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK, go ahead.
Yeah, you were asking about the receiver I'm using. It's not a 312, buddy. It's a BC342N. And I'm using the LS3 military speaker that goes with it. I picked two of these up from John, K1VVC. And I ended up with this one, and Charlie ended up with the other one. So it's a BC342N, over.
Okay, I thought it might have been one that I sold not too long ago. All right, very good. So, they're a very good receiver. I liked mine very much. With that, we'll say 73, everyone, and we'll look forward to Thursday. So with that, WA4LLR, WB4ARK.
Blake, does the BC342N have a crystal filter?
What you have to provide your own monitor. It, of course, doesn't come with a monitor, but you can use it on anything that's got an HDI input, where it's a TV or computer monitor or whatever. I happen to have a extra monitor sitting around, but it's a neat little rig. I think you'd have a lot of fun with it, especially monitoring, space weather and so on and so forth. So 73, WA4LLR clear.
Go ahead, John.
Does the BC342N have a crystal filter, over?
Yes, it does.
Appreciate that information. I've got a BC348, which is an aircraft. It's aluminum. I think that's the Army, the ground unit. And appreciate that information. You guys have a good week if I don't talk to you again. And Steve, thanks again for calling the net. KZ, 4B Cliff.